Good morning and welcome to the Treasure Coast Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Stuart, Florida. Today is Sunday, October the 8th, 2023. My name is Janet Rader and I will be your worship associate for today. We are a welcoming congregation. We welcome people of all gender identities, ethnicities, ages, and backgrounds. We are on YouTube also. To be put on our email list or to find out more information about us, go to our website at tcuuc.org. Note the email link to request the online newsletter. Excuse me, please silence your cell phones. If we have visitors this morning, we would be so delighted to have you come up to a microphone and introduce yourselves to us. Do we have any visitors who would be willing to do that? Almost everybody I'm looking at is a regular. Let's see, we do have, are you all visitors?
Welcome.
Are you willing to come up to the microphone?
You don't have to.
They said no. Okay. Well, please stay around after the service. We join each other for coffee and refreshments in the other room, so please do that.
Thank you.
For the announcements, please see the printed order of service and the newsletter for details. John Morn, right over here, and his stubborn BAS, and you can finish that word, will be our Friday, October 13th, that's this Friday, cafe from 5 to 7. And we meet over in our fellowship hall and have a great time listening to his group. Your only charge is a trip to the tip basket. A big thanks to those who helped with the service this morning, Jackie Robbins and Judy Bajoris for the music, our greeters and ushers, our host, Karina Poloni, and our tech support, Rachel Valentino. And to John Morn for his solo this morning. Jackie and Pat are in the fellowship hall helping with the coffee and the cookies this morning. And our own Bob MacDonald is in the pulpit. Here is our prelude. And my chalice lighting words. We gather this morning as one community, a community united by common ideals: love, justice, diversity, freedom, mutual care, equity. Yet look around. Look at the faces of those around you. Each face represents an individual. Every one of us with our own story, needs, strengths, and faults. We light our chalice today, honoring our common connection and also the uniqueness that lives within each of us. As I searched for opening words focusing on the theme of connection, I happened upon something that should have been apparent without much searching. During the height of COVID, and even now, we wear masks because we are connected. Forging deeper connections to a place, to a person, to a new concept helps build empathy. When we understand that we aren't alone, our relationship to the world changes. And now we will sing hymn 112. Stand if you like. We'll sing 3 verses. Let us recite our affirmations, speaking the first verse and singing the second. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Our responsive reading is number 568 in the back of the hymnal. 568, entitled Connections Are Made Slowly, by Marge Piercy. Connections are made slowly. Sometimes they grow underground. More than half a tree is spread out in the soil under your feet. Fight persistently as the creeper that brings down the tree. Gnaw in the dark and use the sun to make sugar. continue. Live as if you like yourself, and it may happen. Reach out, keep reaching out, keep bringing in. This is how we are going to live for a long time, not always. For every gardener knows that after the digging, after the planting, after the long season of tending and growth, the harvest comes. Now, we have our time of joys and sorrows. We invite you to share yours in the hope that you will know you are being heard and supported. We ask that they be personal and brief and not announcements. I'll begin by telling you that I got called by Tia last night, who told me that she had talked to Ann Nizawa, and Ann informed her that Yashi Nizawa passed away a couple of days ago. She thinks from pneumonia. I'm going to try to go see her right after the service. Ann and her daughter are back from Hawaii. You know, Ann moved there recently in ill health. But anyhow, they're back to do what has to be done for Yashi's place in Indiantown. The word I got was that she didn't have a plan for a gathering here. If that is what I get from her when I meet with her, I will let you know that I will plan a gathering here, a circle, at least a simple circle up here. As I mentioned in the sermon last week, Yashi was an important part of our history. Years ago, when he was in much better health, he came to our Wednesday men's luncheon regularly, he came to worship regularly, and he actually led a science seminar. He had a DVD series, and he showed it in the other room, a lecture. It was on the science of the brain, and then he spoke about it. Now, to be honest, I didn't really understand the lecturer, and we all had to really listen hard to understand Yashi. But he had a big heart, and he repeated things if you needed him to. So anyhow, we're saddened at his death. He must have been about 90, and he was just a big spirited guy among us. So I'll see what she has in mind, and if she doesn't have anything in mind, I'll tell her that I need to do something, and I'd like to invite you to share that something with me, a very simple circle of grief and gratitude next Sunday. All right, who has a matter of, oh, you know, I set this up after the memorial service, and I failed to open up the river. Janet, would you let the river flow a little better than I did? Yeah, this is our river up here. And for those who are new, we move stones symbolically. You know, Janet wrote me a note, Bob, you may need help in reconstituting our river. And I wrote back, oh no, I won't. Just forget that last bit I shared. Who has a matter of joy or sorrow to share with us? Anyone? Come to the mic or from where you're seated, whichever. You have to speak really close to that and hope for the best. We are a work in progress for any who haven't been here too long.
Okay, yes, very good. Thank you, John.
Now, Judith, this better be good.
This had better be good, yes, and I'm Judith, and two things. One thing is about Yashi. He did write an autobiography about his life growing up in Japan during the Second World War. It's fascinating. The other joy and concern is that the joy is that, what's her blank this morning. She fell.
Oh, you're talking about Kathy.
Kathy
The
Strickland.
actress Kathy.
Yes, I've only seen her twice this week. Fell, broke her shoulder. They got her to the hospital. Brand new shoulder. She's actually coming home today.
Oh, good to hear.
Incredible. Just
Good to hear
incredible
that.
how fast things seem to work during the week.
It's okay. I have a teacher voice, so everyone can hear me anyway. I want to put a rock in for Yashi and add that those of us who have known Yashi for a long time, he used to fix our computers. Early on in the days, on Sunday, we'd bring our broken computers. He was amazing. He was a very smart man. Or sometimes he had extra ones if ours were really old. So we put one in for Yashi. And usually I share joys, but we have a sorrow today. This last week, we just found out that my son-in-law's mom, Diana, who is a lovely liberal lady, has cancer, and it has spread quite a bit. The interesting thing is there was a miscommunication after she had her MRI, and there was another 2 weeks that none of us knew. And you wonder sometimes if it's a blessing. So she had a lovely anniversary party, and she had a lovely reunion with her family in North Carolina. And then we just found out last week that the MRI showed the cancer had spread quite a bit. She had breast cancer 10 years ago, so it wasn't a total surprise. So anyway, my daughter and I are flying up to Asheville next weekend, Saturday, and we're going to take her shopping since she still feels good, and her most joyous thing to do is shopping. So thank you.
Anyone else? When our tech elf comes out, you know we're a work in progress here. The other mic, Bob, the other mic.
You can use this microphone now, it's working. Okay. In this last several years, there were 3 of us fellows that were car guys, and we would always go out to the car shows and make up stories and lies and all kinds of things and brag. And in this last month, I lost both of my buddies, Rob Valancourt and Jim Skeel. And I guess they're waiting on me up there and lying like the Dickens right now. So.
Keep them waiting, Bob.
This is mostly joyful. Last week, I was motivated to give away some money to people I thought who needed it. And before I left here, I got a card from 2 parishioners, or whatever you call congregants, from David and Judy. And it was a thank you card, and it was asking me to go and play for Martha Alfie, who's one of your founding members, I believe. And there was a bunch of money in it. So I was very joyful and grateful to be a part of this congregation. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Morning, I'm Bill Falk. Most of you know me. Like many of you, I'm saddened by Hamas and Israel now being more openly at each other's throats. And having been there in Israel after the first Intifada, you really realize how tiny Israel is as a country, and it's surrounded by people who hate it. So Not a lot we can probably do, but if you're thinking of joys and sorrows, that's a pretty heavy sorrow to carry along with Ukraine, Russia, and other places all over the face of the earth.
I was going to say too, what a sad situation that is. Whatever comes from this, we hope will mean a better future for Israel and a better future for the Palestinian people who don't feel like they've been attended to. But it's just an awful situation that we hope ends and then some better rebuilding takes place. Anyone else? Pat, are you wanting to tell something to all of us?
I'm just thinking of what Bill just said. I just feel horrible at what's going on. But the more horrible thing is that I keep thinking this is how the world moves.
Yeah,
A disconnected fire here, a disconnected fire there.
yeah.
And then after a while, they're not disconnected. This feels personal.
Another continuing sadness, and then I'm going to end, is the situation in Maui. You know, it was announced yesterday that West Maui can't open for tourism in the parts that weren't devastated. I mean, that's an awful, awful situation. We're still collecting for Maui if anybody wants to be part of that through the UUSC. But the world has an awful lot of need, and now we have several places to bring up. Thank you, Janet. This meditation is entitled A Litany for Survival. By Audre Lorde. For those of us who live at the shoreline, standing upon the constant edges of decision, crucial and alone, for those of us who cannot indulge the passing dreams of choice, for those of us who were imprinted with fear like a faint line in the center of our foreheads, learning to be afraid with our mother's milk, for this weapon, this illusion of some safety to be found, the heavy-footed hope to silence us. For all of us, this instant and this triumph, we were never meant to survive. And when the sun rises, we are afraid it might not remain. When the sun sets, we are afraid it might not rise in the morning. And when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard nor welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak, remembering we were never meant to survive. Moments of silence. And now, Spirit of Life, hymn number 123. We remain seated, we hum it, and then we sing it. Spirit of Life. As I say every week, we hope that people come here and experience good things, joy and generosity. And in order for us to keep going, we need you to give some of that generosity back. And now the morning offering will be received by 2 volunteering ushers. Who would love this opportunity? Thank you, Jackie. For now, instead of a choral video on the wall, we have John Morn in the flesh right here. He's going to tell us about what he's going to sing.
For me, music is magic, and one of the reasons it's magic is because it speaks to us through time. It speaks to us from a past time. The song I'm going to play for you is an old song. It was written by Roland Pritchard when he was 20. He was a Welsh amateur musician. He worked as a weaver's assistant. He went on to publish a book of children's songs, and this melody, this music was one of those songs. I don't know the details of it, but a little bit later, a hymn writer, a pretty famous one, wrote some lyrics to this, and it became a standard hymn in lots of different types of denominations. And it's a beautiful melody. It really conveys to me joy, mystery, a certain amount of melancholy. And I think that when a piece of music is written and then later other people write lyrics to it, they listen to that music and they try to connect with those feelings, because music is magic and it is abstract. It's probably one of our most abstract arts. Music by itself, what does it mean? And so the lyrics help us get into that music. Many years later, 2002 to be exact, a really fine folk singer who sings in a lot of Unitarian churches, Peter Mayer, listened to this music and heard a different message. To me, it just perfectly conveys the feeling of the music and the magic of it. And so, through time, we are listening to the music of Roland Pritchard, the melody he wrote, the lyrics written in 2002 by Peter Mayer, and hopefully in this moment I can convey a little bit of the meaning that they were trying to convey, meaning and feeling. This is Blue Boat Home. been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. Wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun my sail and moon my rudder as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep. Lifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim soul, making our way by the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on. See the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue home.
I partly scheduled John for today because I thought after hearing him, you would say, I got to come Friday night and hear John and those other three stubborn guys. So 5 to 7, bring your own drink and food, and it'll be a very enjoyable evening. It has been several times before. Now, it's that time again where I'm going to ask you to give me ideas for a sermon. And you'll hear where I got my one for today. You can probably think, well, I can come up with a better idea than that. So I want you to write it down. Pat, you told me something a few weeks ago, an idea for a sermon. I hope you wrote it down, because I didn't, and I hope you can remember it. But anyhow, any ideas will help, will get me started. So it'll be here for a couple weeks. So this is where this thought came from. I'm at a door waiting for a buzzer to go off. The door is locked, so I'm waiting for it to be unlocked to admit me to a memory care unit in a assisted living facility to visit someone there. I notice there's a poster on the wall, and it says, "Are you connected?" Are you connected? What could that mean? Am I connected? To what? To whom? Let me count the ways. Being connected used to mean knowing someone with influence, someone who could do something for you. The local grocer in my early years was the political ward leader, Republican, and handed out money on election day. He stood on the corner, had a wad of fives, and gave them to whoever approached him. My mother was sure to vote and took her darlings along. We didn't vote, but we did get fives and handed them over. Years later, he handed out jobs, including sidewalk shoveling. Some of you remember sidewalk shoveling, don't you? At the county seat office buildings in downtown Troy. My brother Larry and I didn't mind getting there at 5 a.m. because we wanted to shovel and collect before the snow could melt. Being connected has changed from knowing people with influence to wiring and passwords. Is all your wiring connected properly? But that poster made me wonder about my own inner wiring. I guess I want to know all that's working before I go through that door, because it's also locked on the other side. With all the threats we are living with today, political threats to our way of life and to our proud, if imperfect, scratch if, surely imperfect, history of democracy, imperfect and fragile. So that area of threat is pretty unsettling today. There are a lot of Americans who want to define democracy and America as only about them, and they could get to do that. That's a level of threat we haven't had to live with in our lifetime. So there's all that. And environmental threats to air quality, water quality, now seawater, getting to drinking water. And COVID hasn't gone away. And higher daytime temperatures than we've lived with, even in Florida. So strains on mental wiring are just worse. I used to have a history professor in college who occasionally would say, since most of you have driver licenses, do you ever stop to think how many mentally unfit people are on the road and in control of that ton or two piece of metal barreling towards you? Well, no, we didn't. But we did wonder why he was telling us that, if there was more than plugging defensive driving behind it. Are you connected? Being connected today sounds like having healthy relationships, and we need them more than ever. Our experience in our condo building on Hutchison Island, which we had owned and rented to snowbirds before we retired to live down here full time, we thought we experienced people in our building, our new neighbors, did not want to get beyond superficial greeting. I remember hearing more than once at social events in the building, social events we made ourselves attend. This was right after November '08. You all remember November '08. I remember hearing, we must give this new president a chance. I'm pretty sure President Obama got a pretty brief probation time in that building. Could this be a topic of debate? Did Obama's election prove that we have evolved out of a racist history, or did Obama's election unleash racist demons we didn't want to admit? For those of you who, like us, moved down here after retirement, I'd like to hear your experience about Florida friends later. Your experience of making Florida friends, was it like ours? We had friends in the north and on another continent, so I figured your friends were people you shared more time with, more life with on your journey before you retired. We are hearing today of friendship deprivation. Friendship deprivation. Loneliness has made it to the mental health challenges of our country today. From talk shows and news psychology people, young men seem especially at risk. There is a blow-up doll industry, and this began way before the movie Barbie. And comes along AI, which lets you subscribe to dolls online who become sexier the more you are willing to pay. What they don't do for you yet is hone your relationship skills and ready you for the real thing of give and take, my turn, your turn, more forgiveness than you knew you had in you, and the bottom line in relationships, warts and all, warts and all. You know what applies to everybody else. In my longest ministry on Long Island, I did a lot of weddings. It was a popular wedding location on the North Shore. I had people join my church just so they could get married there and not have to pay anything. I had to have a wedding message I could live with and repeat. I had too many to write new ones. And who listens to wedding homilies? Not the couple in front of me, I was sure. I included an interview I heard between Merv Griffin of late TV and the comedic actress Ruth Gordon. I loved her from the time I saw her in a movie with Clint Eastwood and a pet gorilla. Now, does anybody else here remember that movie? I'm not the only one. So Griffin asks Ruth Gordon to define love. Define love. She says, love is having somebody to tell it to. Love is having somebody to tell it to. Love is having someone who won't belittle anything you need to say or want to say. Another gem I had found somewhere, a self-help aisle in a bookstore or library, I was sure. This was, if there's anything you can't talk about in a relationship, it is controlling the relationship and stymieing the relationship, always waiting, needing to be spoken. Somebody to tell it to. A good definition of love and a good definition of friendship and any good nurturing relationship. So the loneliness epidemic and the friendship deprivation today mean for too many people, especially young people, that's missing, having somebody to tell it to. And with the sea of social media around us, social media which are some combination of sustaining and threatening, people are more connected than ever. But I suspect they aren't connected in social media to that. Somebody to tell it to. Now, does church connect us? I hope so, but tell me later. It used to be said that more real eye-to-eye and heart-to-heart took place, or more reality was talked about, in the downstairs of any church, meaning AA meetings, where people introduce themselves admitting their brokenness, more real downstairs than the upstairs of any church, meaning the worship service. It also used to be said that more real relationship talk took place in the neighborhood bar than in the neighborhood parish. Curious that alcohol in both cases linked to relationships, how it contributed to the loss of relationships when out of control, and some real in relationships when shared in moderation. Our UU principles on the back of the bulletin show what we hope will be experienced right here at TCUUC, what every congregation hopes will be experienced. The worth of every person, compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another. As important as things are, the things we know we have to fight for, you know, voting for everybody, corporate greed, and too easy billionaire access to government. About all that, we've got to keep on educating ourselves. The things we keep learning this week. Denmark, who owned or administered Greenland, still does, is a territory of Denmark, mostly covered by ice. Has anybody here ever been to Greenland? All right, on your bucket list, come on, it's on mine. Its language is called Greenlandic, and its people are members of the EU, and the total population is 56,000, about twice the size of Stewart. Now, this is what I found stunning. Denmark was neutering young native teen women, Inuit, there without their permission or knowledge as recently as 1974. Colonialism was that ugly that recently. I know you didn't come here this morning to learn all that, but it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I'm amazed that we learn what we learn is still going on in our world. We come here to learn, to motivate ourselves to work and to fight for what we believe. And what a list it is in 2023. Gay and transgendered people have to feel free in all of our states, red and blue. We don't put race hatred behind us by rewriting our history of race hatred. Immigration is at the heart of who we are, starting with refugees from England in the 1600s. So roundup and return are not who we were or are. It's complicated, so the answer can't be simple. Diversity is the flag we fly with pride. Now, UU is known for fight and front lines for what we believe in. But also, we've got to connect with each other better and share fun and food, as well as share sermon ideas. Oh, I didn't mean it. Am I connected? You may be wondering that right now. I hope the question is about more than wiring and passwords. I hate that forgot password, because they won't just tell you what you forgot so you can go on using it. Oh no, you got to do reset. Think up a new one, which they'll tell you whether or not it's strong enough. And you know you're just going to forget that also. The connecting I know I need has to involve that mystery thing called spirituality, or historically, soul. I don't know what it is, but I know what it isn't. I don't know what it is or where it is, but I know when I have ignored it long enough. For me, it's about paying attention, which means focus and a tolerance for science. There's a great metaphor in the Hebrew scripture, a story of a prophet looking for an answer, really looking for deity in an onslaught of storms. And finding what was needed was the silence that followed the storms. We know we've got our storms, and we've got to pursue, at least have a tolerance for the silence that might follow and sustain us with sustenance. And that might mean disconnecting from screens and looking within, where there might be some more that we need. The closing hymn is 108, My Life Flows On. 108. And if you're willing and able, please rise to sing. Please be seated. These closing words are from Robert Doss as the chalice is extinguished. For all who see God, may God go with you. For all who embrace life, may life return your affection. For all who seek a right path, may a way be found, and the courage to take it, step by step. Now, let me tell you that I've asked Jackie to play some of the tunes that were requested for the service for Bud and Irene, which was last weekend, and that was one of them. The family wanted to hear that because they loved hearing that. He died at 99, and we celebrated his life, one of the founders of this church. Now, when Jackie plays this music, she just can't keep from singing, which is extra.